a bit of light. Artificial, of course. And this is the centre tree. And typical of all the oaks in Sherwood. And the centre tree is my mate. I love this tree. It's also interesting. There's none here tonight though. But when we used to do glowworm walks for the country park, we used to show them two beetles that lived on this. I'll go a bit closer. And there were two red data book beetles. There's a red data book one, which is Teredos cylindricus. In fact, there is one in the centre there now, that little, I can't point to it otherwise. There's a little black thing pointing upwards, and that's Teredos cylindricus. You won't get better footage anyway, you know. Oh, it's moving. There, that thing that's moving, that's a lot easier to say. That's a red data book one beetle. And this is the only tree that we personally ever found it on. And you get it here in good numbers. You can have as many as 50 on this and on this bit. The other beetle is Cortesius unicolor, which is similar shape but larger and red. And must be in the larval stage now, because it's not here, that knows. What else have we had here? An ovipositing, another rarity, red data book 2, Limexilon navali, which we discovered new to Sherwood Forest in 2008ish, something like that. Seen it twice since the initial discovery, including one, say, which was a female that was egg laying on here one evening as we paused on his way round while glowworming. So there's 3 red data book beetles, 1, 2 and 3, just on the trunk of my beloved centre tree. Looks quite strange when you look at it in this light. There you go. If I was to do a selfie at this moment in time, he would say exactly the same. Ah. Tawny owl pretends it's a herring gull by the sound of that. Centre tree. Darkness. Even more darkness. But a special tree. It's had some good species on it and still does. We even had a toad climbing it one night, I remember, about 4 foot off the ground. It was surprising. Well, you'll be surprised where toads get. Right, just below the centre tree is this old bough which fell off. I just realised there's a massive tedging area that we'll have a look at in a minute. This bough fell off in the spring, all of a sudden, coming into leaf. It was April, early April, windless, glorious weather. Well, one morning, this had fallen off. But I've just found this lot, which is an oak bush cricket. And this is a female. you tell it's a female because of the ovipositor, which is a sword-like projection at the end. Quite large and probably found throughout Nottinghamshire, but there is the southern oak bush cricket which is spreading in Nottinghamshire now, but that's still mainly south knots. And this is a mature female. You do get them in Sherwood, they're mainly on oaks, often sat on tree trunks, so they stand out like a sore thumb. But we've had them on heather in the middle of Budby, and the regular on the limes around Worksop Priory. Nice thing, and at last an orthopteran that's not made a jump for it. Surprising what you can see at night that you don't see during the day. We'll see what else we can find. See if we can find that Tegenaria, because it looks a big one. And it is a big one. This is the male. This is the kind that you get running across your living room carpet, or will turn up in the bath. And this is Tegenaria gigantea. It may have had its name changed though now. I can't remember now. This is the one that everybody hates. I'm not particularly fond of them because they move so quick. But they are huge, and this is quite a big one, to be honest. I've seen a female on here, and there is a web underneath. It's right, I used to have a torch with you. Lots of woodlines. And peace and quiet. You might recognise this. Not my usual sort of stopping place where, when I've done videos while glowworming in the summer, stop here and have a natter. And it is quiet. You still hear people lane in the traffic. You might well be able to see, and that's looking up towards the centre tree where I've just been. But apart from that, one bit of tawny owl calling. There's been nothing else. And that's looking, as you can obviously tell, down towards Peafield Lane, towards the Arch House, which is the other side of Peafield Lane. It's one of the few sites where I didn't actually find glowworms this year. Well, I think I only went there once. It's a weird setup there. But yeah, it's almost like the woods and the forest is already in dormancy this time of year. Even though there's still plenty of leaves on the trees. A lot are starting to come off now with it being dry. Because contrary to popular opinion, it has been dry these past few weeks. There's a deer or something crashing around in the forest, in the wood to my left. Not as clumsy as what I am by the sound of it. Sounds like Bambi with 2 broken legs. But yeah, it almost seems as though, nocturnally at least, The woodland is now closed for the year, unless you put a torch on and look for stuff. I mean, the relative silence of this place is occasionally broken by a dry, crispy leaf tottering its way down through one of the many holly trees. Holly's the one tree that loses a lot of the leaves in dry weather, but a tree that has suffered this year is elm, in particular wych elm. There's been a lot of dieback of elms and wych elms this year, including one big mature tree in the centre of Warsop that looks as though it's copped it, presumably through Dutch elm. You never hear of Dutch elm, actually. I ought to perhaps do a video of it. But I mean, since it was the 70s, wasn't it, Dutch elm changed the face of the English landscape. All the elm trees that came down. The last thing we want is another tree disease like that. But yeah, elms have suffered, and I'm presuming that it's Dutch elm. Elm can survive as suckers for a number of years until it gets sort of too woody and the stems get too thick, and then that's it, it's open up to attack, which I believe Dutch elm disease is a fungus carried by one of the wood boring beetles. Not my fault. They can't blame me for this one. But anyway, as we turn away from the centre tree, because you're obviously fed up of looking at that, we'll have a slow meander, drop my stick again, back down to the car. Surprising when you do use a torch, and you just shine it on the path, which is a good way of finding beetles. A lot of beetles are nocturnally active, and so are these. This is a pill millipede. This one's about 1 inch long, so it's mature. And they're lovely little things, these, and I've seen a lot of these. Now they do get commoner the further away you go from the centre tree, especially as you get down towards Peafield Lane, and that's purely because in general the ground is damper, more damp. If we can put an angle on it. Here we go. Look at this. See if David Attenborough will narrate this for you. But yeah, this is a pill millipede. Vegetarian, so it won't drag your kids off mothers. And they do come occasionally in other colours. Some are a mahogany brown. And this one is typically all black. Common in woodlands, especially in the Sherwood Forest area. It's immensely common, but it does occur throughout Nottinghamshire. It is a completely harmless, docile invertebrate. I love these. Let's see what else is on the path. There's an interesting beetle. Although you won't want to see this if you're a slug or a snail, because these are predatory on slugs and snails. This is Sulphur atrata. And the larvae of these, never seen one actually, despite lifting of logs and of bark. But the larvae are similar structurally to glowworm larvae. But that's the only similarity, because these aren't related. And this is a common species, particularly over Sherwood. And the adults usually hunt from evening onwards. One or two do get squashed on the path here, but this one should be okay. So another species, all of the Sylphidae beetles devour slugs and snails, so they're very useful to have. Particularly nice. I thought there'd be more of these actually on the path. This is a white-legged black snake millipede or something, the common name. Tachypodorus niger was a lot easier to say, trust me. And this is a particularly large one. It's a good 2.5 inches long, this. So this is obviously a mature female. And you see a lot of these in spring and summer on the path. But all those legs. Hell of a job. Well, it'd be in hell of trouble if it got cramped, wouldn't it? But one of many species I've continued to find. There's a lot of harvestmen on the path. Liboon and black walleye by the looks of them. But we'll let this chap, or this lady, carry on. He's a vegetarian, of course. And we'll see what we can find as we continue up there. Now in section B, for those that know the place. This is the second of these. This is what you would know, or gardeners would know, as the infamous vine weevil. This is Otiorhynchus sulcatus, if I remember right. Regular out and about at night time. And a large weevil, you're getting on to well over 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch long here for this. And these weevils are built like tanks. They're almost bulletproof. And this one's, the good thing about most weevils, or weevils of this type especially, these Otiorhynchus, is that they don't really go anywhere in a hurry. I think they know that you could jump up and down on them and they'll still be alright. And this one's out and about, and will no doubt continue his wander when I take this big bright light off him. So I think we'll do that now. Here's another snail killer. This is a large carabid, this is Cycrus caraboides. Nice to see this out and about, on the hunt for slugs and snails. Nice to see, you often find them in the winter. If you're turning over logs, you'll often find these in their beautifully carved out cell. Well, some beetles do make the most beautiful cells for overwintering in. Lovely and smooth on the inside. But anyway, as it goes off into the darkness on its wanders, I'll go a bit further. Right. As you may well be able to tell, I'm getting closer to Peafield Lane and back to the car. Quite enjoyed it, this little nocturnal wander. It is mild, well, it's warm actually. I've put a jumper on, but I didn't need it. It's almost as good as taking, well, it's better than taking tablets. Getting out for an hour from the stresses and strains of life. always helps to go to your favourite place, do what you like to do in times when you really need to do them. And I think most people get those times, especially when you've been through some traumatic experiences. Having somewhere to run to is a big help. And we found some bits and bobs. Nothing rare, nothing unusual. But at least you got a fleeting bit of footage of most things. Anyway, back to the car. And there it is, in the dark. Right. Another nocturnal adventure done.